Heads up on some upcoming tastings. Um, I think we're pushing forward a couple weeks here. The Decadent Drams tasting that's coming up on 21st of October, so 2 weeks from today. Great range of whiskeys, including a blend that was done for one of our employees, Kurt's Whiskey Club, and some bottles for the store. It's quite good. Great little range. There's some fun stuff in here, including Loch Dew, which is a
Yeah.
little dig at Loch Dew, which was a whiskey around about 15, 20 years ago that was massively dosed with caramel. This is not, but still it'll be kind of fun. So that's coming up. Sorry, I don't know why something else just popped up on my screen here. Distractions. We've got Phil Nixon from Elixir Distillers in store. We joke about updating this photo. We probably won't, but I think you all know what the question mark is now. So there's some spots left for that. What else is coming up down the pipeline? Trevier Eau de Vie with a rather old range, more than 300 years of cognac and Armagnac. So that's coming up. There's some spots ready for that. All of these tastings are ready to go. They are poured. Whiskey Land is poured and ready for pickup. This range includes a Springbank and
Mhm.
some other cool stuff, including sister cask of a Ben Nevis. We will be pouring the Macbeth collection tastings this week. So if any of you were waiting on that one or were thinking about registering for it, that's about a month away, almost exactly. We'll have that poured and ready for pickup later, probably this week or early next at the latest. There's our festivals in store, a new Ben Romick and Gord MacPhail tasting. We've added this and it's almost sold out, which is great. There's the Diageo special releases tasting, also quite popular. We'll answer the question, what's so special? Is there anything special? There's at least one whiskey in there that I am legitimately very curious to try. And it's the Teaninnick Rye, though high hopes for that Kleinlich 18, I think it's fair to say as well.
But
Um,
also, just want to jump in on there, like the one upside without getting into pricing and other things, which I'm sure we'll get into, but all of the releases this year have an age statement, which is
oh,
cool.
that's true. They do. Well, yeah, no, you're right. They do all have an age statement. So maybe they've learned a lesson there.
Hmm.
Fall Single Malt Festival Night 2, that's up there too. And then our Advent tastings are up and open for registration as well too. We do have 2 or 3 more tastings that will be dropping before the end of this year. We've got a Nick Nean vertical tasting set up with Annabelle Thomas. I believe that's her last name. She's the founder of Nick Nean Distillery in Scotland on the West Coast. So that is in the pipeline. And then Evan, I think I have a placeholder to discuss with you whether to do a redbreast tasting because we've got some 21 and 27 coming in,
Cool.
or a Cadenhead tasting because there's some unusual Cadenheads coming. So we probably can't do both, but we can do one of them. So stay
Well,
tuned on that. Decisions will be
yeah,
made.
we could always wait till St. Patrick's Day, as is traditional, for the redbreast tasting.
Oh, we could. Yeah, it's true. Though, yeah, that's an interesting thought. Seems like a long time away. It seems like a
It
long
is.
time to wait.
I do want to
Um,
try that 27, so
so do I. Special shout out to Kelvin, in Fort McMurray, who I suppose after many times of us talking about getting smoking jackets for the shop, actually went out and procured for Evan and I smoking jackets,
mhm.
which we're wearing tonight. Um, I have a theory, and like Kelvin, I truly do hope you did not go to great expense to procure these. I have a suspicion they're from Timu or something like that because there's very few labels on it, much less than is probably normal for a garment sold in Canada. But the gesture is much appreciated. So, Slanch, thanks for
Yeah.
that.
On that note too, Kevin, I don't know who you had stock me for the sizing because I was sure an XXL would not fit. It would be like just
Oh,
dripping off me, but it's
Evan,
almost right on the shoulders. It's crazy.
further proof, I think, that these could be Chinese garments
Yeah.
sized for people. in a much, well, of smaller and lesser stature, I suppose would be the best way to put it.
I wore mine for family dinner 2 days ago, and I was very dapper. So
That's amazing. I might wear this to family Thanksgiving this weekend just to
yeah.
see if my mom or my sister-in-law says something.
Mhm.
Because they probably will. Anyway, Kelvin, you probably should let us know where you procured these because maybe that might be where we could actually acquire cheap,
Yeah.
possibly harmful um, Kensington Wine Market branded smoking jackets for future
Yeah, we
versions.
definitely we need to at least get one for Harmony and Sammy. So
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, hope you're all having a good evening. We're here to talk about archives. Um, Archives, for those who don't know, is the whiskey brand bottled by Whiskey Base. And Whiskey Base, you'll know we comment on or we will quote scores on quite frequently on our site. Archives is a range of whiskeys they do. Most of them are bottled as Fishes of Samoa. We can maybe get into some of that as we go here. Regardless, they've always been kind of fun bottles. And, Evan, over the years, we've seen an evolution with independent bottlers coming out with fun labels, some of them more fun than others. I think these are kind of conservatively fun labels. Like it's,
yeah.
you know, a little bit of Dutch personality creeping in here. They wanted something colorful and playful, but not too colorful or playful.
Well, the cool thing about them too is, from what we've seen in general, but you can tell by the range or the lack of range and color on these glasses in front of us, um, that they don't tend to mess around with cask finishing or anything like that. They seem to have an ethos built about what they like and what they
Mm,
like to present, and they've stuck to it, which it tends to be in the wheelhouse of what a lot of us at KWM enjoy as well.
yeah. Well, it's funny. I've gotten into this with some people recently. Like finishes when they're done well, like there's a
Hmm.
place for them. There's products that consumers quite like. I am, I think, at heart a bit of a purist. I like, you know, if a whiskey's not ready to be bottled, don't just try putting lipstick on a pig. And I think there's been a lot of that historically that's happened with the whiskey
Hmm.
industry. But I do like the kind of the honesty of these whiskeys where they're finding stuff that they think is good. A lot of them are young. I mean, this is pretty common with a lot of independent ballers these days where, it's hard for them to get much in the way of aged stock. But I do love the approach of bottling a cask as it is. Um, and I think their liquids over time, when we've tried them, have all been like fairly good. There's been a fairly high
Yeah.
level of quality. And there's a good reason for that. Not least of which is that they probably don't want to see bad scores on their whiskeys on their own website.
It's a good
Um,
point.
but ultimately, they're whiskey nerds. The Archives brand was first released in 2011. They had a shop in Rotterdam even before that. I'm going to mispronounce this, but it's in the vibrant Het Oud Noorden neighborhood of Rotterdam, which is a fascinating city. If you ever get a chance to go, it's great. I had the most Dutch coffee experience of my life there. Probably bored some of you with that story before. I think it's a pretty funny story. We're not going to delve into that tonight. But it happened when I went to a whiskey show they used to put on called the Whiskey Base Gathering. And it was held in a dockside building in Rotterdam. Great event. Whether it'll come back or not, I'm not sure. But they're good guys. There's three guys, I believe, who are behind the Whiskey Base organization. They're ultimately retailers, whiskey nerds, and independent bottlers. And for those who don't follow the whiskey base, the site form of things, they also have the biggest database for whiskey in the world. So Whiskey Base is both their shop as well as literally a database that you can search. You can leave your own reviews on there. I think you can track your collections. But the most recent updates on this are that they have 271,323 different whiskeys cataloged on their site from 2,707 distilleries, 2,228 bottlers, and 10,325 different brands. They've got 270,000-ish members, and the ratings on their site now, they should really put commas in here, over 3.3 million ratings, reviews on their site. So you'll have noted over years, if you follow us, we'll frequently quote Whiskey Fun or Whiskey Base, and they're two different things. Whiskey Fun is a couple of reviewers, Serge and Angus, two guys, but generally speaking, if I don't always agree with their scores, I think their tasting notes are usually very good and consistent. Whiskey Base will quote if there's a minimum threshold of reviews, and that might depend on the product. If it's a really old product, I might quote a review if there's five reviews on there. But generally, if it's a more well priced, more common product, I'll try not to quote it unless there's at least 30 to 50. And the thing that I like about that, I think that I've liked about it is over the years, it's been a way of gauging if something might be good or not. It's not a guarantee, but it's kind of crowdsourcing, is this worth taking a risk on? And why, as a retailer, this is important is that there are a lot of times where I have to do things like purchase Glenfarclas family casks or commit to them 6 to 12 months before they arrive in my shop. And Whiskey Bases for me is a great tool to research brands, to look for things like sister casks, whiskeys from the same year, same distillery, like a close number in terms of cask number, to try to figure out if the one I'm blindly going to buy is going to be any good. And so I think it's been a great tool for that. Um, I certainly rely on it a lot. I would say most days I'm on Whiskey Base at least once to try to find something, and it's been a great resource for that. So um, maybe before we do anything else, Evan, we should have just a quick toast to all the guys at Whiskey Base for creating this incredible tool that a lot of us, both consumers and retailers, rely on. So cheers.
Yeah, Slosh.
All right, enough about that. You're here for the whiskey. Um, let's. My job is partially browsing the internet, Jeff. Yes, it's also answering hundreds of emails. Um, yeah, let's dive in with the Strathclyde, which I mean that's a pretty good start for me right there. I mean, I know I've had a sip. I haven't even nosed it yet, but this is a 1992 vintage Strathclyde single grain, bottled at 30 years of age, 48%. It's as most of the whiskeys in tonight's range are from this Fishes of Samoa label. And the bottle, for those who care, features the image of, and apologies, but I am not a biologist, an Acantharus delicianus, published over 150 years ago in a journal, The Animal Kingdom. So that's what we're tasting first. A Strathclyde with a fish on the label. And right off the bat, for a single grain, and especially Strathclyde's a grain that I struggle with at times because I find it can be very medicinal. And you can tell this is grain, like it's almost leaping out of the
Mhm.
glass. But there's also these nice bakery tones in there. There's also these nice, lush citrus fruit tones coming out like slicing into a fresh grapefruit. There's some nice tones in there. It's more than just that grain distillate at a great age.
Yeah, some notes of like a slight menthol and mint note in there.
Hmm.
Agreed on the grapefruit as well. Bit of citrus, some nice vanilla notes, of course. Definitely does come off as a grain right off the hop for me.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. I mean, I think this is that softer side. We're looking at what, 48%. So this is oxidized a little bit. It's quite pretty, creamy. There's some floral tones to it. Grain whiskey is often not that, um, it's not as complex and not as interesting as a lot of malt whiskeys, but give it some time and it can become quite beautiful. So this particular one here, I think I mentioned this, but if not, I'll go in and repeat it. It's from an ex-bourbon barrel. No word whether it's refill or first fill. I mean, if I were a betting man, it seems more refill than first fill. Like the oak there is it's pleasant and it's got a nice presence, but it's not overbearing. And I would think at 30 years, this would be really, really toasty if this had been a first fill.
Yeah. Yeah, so the distillery is owned by Pernod Ricard. This is sort of Pernod Ricard's, well, it's probably not fair to say answer to Cameron Bridge because nothing's really an answer to Cameron Bridge when it comes to volume. I
Mhm,
think these guys do about 30 to 40 million liters a year, if I remember correctly.
mhm.
Um, it's been around since 1927 and gone
Yeah.
through a lot of different hands in that time. But this is what you would find probably for a lot of the grain that's going into the Pernod Ricard lineup of blends, such as Chivas Regal.
Valentine's, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, it's yeah. I mean, grain whiskey is such an unknown quantity for a lot of people. You know, the fermentation times are different. You know, the cook times are different. Um, Apparently, for this particular grain, they use predominantly wheat with a bit of malted barley. They need that malted barley for the enzymes. So that's actually quite common. The difference is that the spirit strength for a malt whiskey is going to come off at about 72%, maybe 71%. The strength of Strathclyde, its new make strength is 94.5%. So almost to the point of getting to be pure alcohol,
Mm.
like distilled to the level of effectively vodka.
NGS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, or NGS. Like if you distill, I think you'd probably need to distill this at least once more, or to an even higher percentage to get to true NGS, because there
Mhm.
are spirit elements here. But yeah, this is an interesting whiskey, and I sort of hinted at this a few minutes ago. I struggle at times with Strathclyde. I either like it or I
Yeah.
don't. I find a lot of times they can come across very chemically, very medicinal, not in the way of an Isla whiskey, but more solventy or like a cleaning.
Yeah.
And I don't get that with this. I just get these nice doughy, fruity tones, this like silky, thin grain element, and it's pretty.
Yeah, that green note on there is almost razor sharp. It's so thin, but it is there.
Mhm.
There is like a touch of like going into like spiritus and like crazy high alcohol stuff that you'd use for tinctures and such. But the thyme and oak, even though it's been gentle, it's added enough there to keep it interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and the most interesting part about this is the price.
Hmm.
The price on this is pretty incredible. What was it? 215 a bottle. So we've only got a little bit. We can't get more of it. I think only 6 bottles of this came into the shop, and we're in the process of enjoying one here together. Um, it's there are still some good values out there for grains. They've been harder and harder to come by in recent years. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was approaching this one a little bit nervously because I've had some Strathclydes that I just didn't really love, but I think this is
Yeah.
really pretty and really elegant.
Yeah, it seems to get its gentleness from both sides, from the grain and from the cask, which is pretty cool.
Mhm. So that's our first one there. Um, I'm just going to quickly pull something up here.
Hmm.
So the next one we're on to is Balmenach, um, which is a whiskey that you might not be familiar with unless you're a fan of independent bottlings. It's a relatively old distillery, 1824 originally. Beautiful distillery, like tucked into the foot of the Cairngorm Mountains, effectively in the south of the Speyside. But it's not a whiskey that we see bottled officially, frankly, almost ever, because it's predominantly used for blends and it is used. Well, there are bottlings of it called Deerstalker, but you don't see them very often. I
Yeah.
don't think they've been around for a while. So
Yeah.
let's put this guy up on screen here.
Yeah. We do get a decent amount of Balmenach gin though.
It's true, the Karoon. I'm not even
Mhm.
sure we have that right now. I think that's been something that
Yeah, it's here
maybe
and
we.
there. We've had a couple of their special release gins recently, I believe, that have come in and out too. So
There you go. So 2012 vintage Balmenach, 12 years of age, ex-bourbon barrel, 54.6%. There is a bizarre looking fish on the label there. From again, Fishes of Samoa series. It's an amphiprion chrysogaster. Probably butchered that as well. Published 150 years ago in Journal des Muséums Godefroy. So a bit of a mouthful there for that. But what do we think about Balmenach? I mean, Evan, you probably have as good
yeah,
uh, an experience with Balmenach as anyone I know because we've seen a decent amount of these come through the Scotch Malt Whisky Society.
yeah, we have, and I believe this is one of the distilleries specifically that you've labeled as tends to have this copper coin or blood note to it, if I remember correctly.
Mm,
Didn't we have a Balmenic in the Macbeth releases?
we did, and
Yeah,
it also had a little bit of a tinge
yeah,
of blood in it.
yeah. And that one was more sherry, and a lot of the SMWS releases we've had recently have been more sherry cask as a secondary maturation almost. This
Mhm.
one with the ex-bourbon cask, it's almost like, and I think you mentioned short fermentation time on these guys.
Yes, yeah.
It's like it's still undergoing fermentation, where it's got this really yeasty floral note on top for me. Not in a bad way, but it kind of actually reminds me of some liquids we've had from ex-bourbon that go in this route as well. Very floral, a little bit of like a floral spice note to it, very perfumed.
Hmm.
Some underlying fruit notes and going into like orchard fruits and apple notes in there for me as well on the nose.
Hmm. Those are all good notes. Yeah, fermentation time is just 54 hours, which is very
Mhm.
short. That would be, I mean, there's very few distilleries I think that would have less than 4 hour or 48 hour fermentations. So this is getting right down to the bottom end of it, but it's bright, it's fruity. I mean, what's really nice about this is that it's not for 12 years of age and cast strength, and for Balmenic, because I've tried a number of them over the years, it doesn't come across like overly sharp or rough on the nose.
Vincent Pang's taking umbrage with the fact that this is called an amphorium chrysogaster. He believes that's not the case.
Well, there's a lot of fish in the sea, Vincent, and I'm just going by what the back label says.
Wow, that was a great response.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna dive in. I did get a little bit of strawberry Twizzlers there
Yeah,
just before that.
there's almost like a touch of like a fizziness that hits the tongue for me on this one. Going into a bit of a ginger ale note, bit of
Mm.
gingery, some nuttiness in there too.
It's very waxy. I'm
Hmm.
getting a lot of, if not like strawberry Twizzlers, then like, I don't know, cherry nibs, like kind of waxy fruits. That iron note is still there for sure as
Hmm.
well. Yeah, it's got a nice body to it. And again, like the nose for the age, this is just a really well matured cask. There's no rough edges to it. It's not rough or sharp.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool stuff. I at the same time I can kind of see why a lot of the bottlings we've seen for Balmenic have gone into sherry, where it seems like it gives a little bit that nuttiness and stuff that's easy to lean into, that perfume note
Mm.
that could go a bit fruitier with sherry casts as well. But it's nice to see it naked like this.
Well, I think if this was not in an active bourbon cask, so first fill,
Hmm.
I think it could come across a little on the farmy side.
Yeah.
And I think, that's maybe the challenge with Balmenic is that short fermentation. I believe when I was reading before, they have a fairly short distillation as well. And they have a really wide middle cut, like from
Wow.
72 all the way down to 58, which is low. Like most distilleries don't drop below 63, I think is where most of them would cut things off. So that's where we're probably getting that slightly like irony
Mhm.
note creeping in. You often will get like these slightly fishy tobacco tones towards the bottom of that distillate if you're cutting that low. And I think the result of that is that you often need time. Like you need time to polish that up a little bit. And 12 years, relatively speaking, is not a lot of time,
No,
but this has matured really well.
I was just thinking that too. Like, first of all, it sounds like they're taking everything that's not going to kill you in that cut
Mhm.
and just redistilling the rest, which is totally fair. And I think it's almost like a very old school approach um, that we don't see that often, especially in new distilleries. But what is the oldest Balmenach you've had? Like, can you think of a 20 plus year old Balmenach off the top of your head? Because I'd be curious to try something like this at 25, say.
That's a fair question. I'm trying to think right now. I I mean the oldest Balmenic that comes to mind was in that Compass Box Myths and Legends series.
Oh,
I'm just logging into something right now to see if I can find proof. It
whiskey
seems to me
base?
we've had an old signatory Balmenic as well.
I guess, yeah, they'd be somebody that, and or maybe G&M.
Mhm.
They'd be the ones that perhaps would have some.
But even
Because
then,
we do have a
I don't think we've had an older one from Balmenic.
no, not that I can think of.
So I'm just scanning through the back end of our website, and other than the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, every Balmenic we've ever had has been from 2002 or 2005 or later.
Mhm.
So that's going back probably at least 10, 15 years on the back end of the website that there's no evidence of a Balmenic older than that. I mean, to be honest, Evan, it's a whiskey we don't see a ton of. It's one that I
No,
don't think I've had a critical mass of enough to say this is
this
what
is
Balmenic tastes like. Although,
mhm.
like your comment about that one, the the Macbeth Blair Athol, but also the Blair
Yeah.
Athels that came as part of the Whiskey Trail range recently.
Mhm.
I mean, those do seem to bear out that the distillery kind of has this kind of irony, bloody note to it. But yeah, is there a Macbeth Balmenic or is that Blair Athol?
Maybe I'm getting Blair Athol
I think you're
mixed up
confusing
with
with
it.
Blair Athol.
Yeah.
But regardless, like I've not had a lot of old Balmenics, so I don't know that I really
Mhm.
know what it is. In the way that I do know that there are a lot of other young distilleries that I struggle with, like Van Rennes, like
Mhm.
Inchgour to an extent. I mean, there's a number of others, Strathmill that I just don't find very exciting, and I've had a chance to try a lot of them. Balmenic, I don't think I've had a chance to try a lot of.
Maybe we'll have to dive into whiskey base and see what the older
Mhm.
bottlings are at some point.
Yeah, but let's just leave it at where it is. I think that's a great
Yeah,
bottling.
it
Uh,
is.
I really love how creamy it is on the palate. Nice fruits creeping in there. Um, I don't think we are wrong in that. I think it does have that little bit of irony note to it, but great whiskey.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I do enjoy that again, liquid-esque
mhm.
like floral note that it has there.
All right, we're on to Bruichladdich, and there does seem to be quite a bit of back and forth in the chat about the type of fish um, that we're looking at. And once again, to just make sure everyone knows, neither Evan or I are, I don't know what a fish expert is. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think that should be self-evident in the fact that I can't think of what the word is. I know it's not an ornithologist, but whatever that word is applied to fish, neither of us are those. So
One of
encourage,
my favorite movies as a kid was a fish called Wanda, if that helps
oh,
at all.
have you ever shoved a French fry with ketchup up your nose or crisp, as it were?
No, no, not yet. There's time.
There is still time. There is still time. All right. Bruichladdich, 2008 Bruichladdich. One or two bottles of this left. We're not sure exactly how many. I'll put it up on screen in a second. It's an ex-bourbon barrel, 15 years of age, 55.6%. Vincent and or Jeff might take issue with this, but supposedly this is an Anteniaris Phimatodes published over 150 years ago in Journal des Muséums de Godefroy. So if you take issue with that, take it up with the dead artist because I just pulled that off the back label. Come on, load up. Here we go. So ex-bourbon Bruichladdich, Evan. I mean, we used to see a lot of these independent bottlings. I think they got up there in price, and we've not seen quite so many in the last little while. But this is kind of, I think, everything that I'm hoping it would be based on the nose because it's got
Yeah,
that cheesy funk.
cheesy lactic notes
Yeah,
all
there's
over the
fruit
place.
tones there. So long fermentation. Um, Somewhat, I mean, they don't do a wild fermentation, but looking at distillery like Bruichladdich, they got that old open top cast iron mash tun, wooden washbacks, old wooden washbacks. You know, say what you will about Mark Renier, and we said a lot of things during our Waterford tasting a couple weeks back. I think a fair balance of both good and bad because he was quite the visionary. Uh, they made an old school style spirit when they reopened Bruichladdich, and I think it's a phenomenal distillery.
Yeah, that nose is really good.
Man,
The lactic notes and cheesy notes are there, but they're soft at the same time. There's some nice fruit notes in there, still some really fresh grain.
it also has like if you could encapsulate into a cupcake icing sugar the smell of going into a fancy sauna or like a fancy, sorry, spa. So not just like the sauna smell, but like I don't know, the sea salt, all those different elements. Like
Hmm.
it just smells like a spa flavored cupcake icing sugar.
Nice. We should write to Crave. Maybe they can do something about
Oh
that.
man. Only we had a little drop of this left.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a little bit of like fresh pressed apple juice in there as well, and even apple blossoms.
Yeah. It's it reminds me a little bit of not the Five Alive, but what was that? That Minute Maid like tropical punch. It was like five. I don't know if you when I was a little kid, it was in a juice box and it had I don't even know what it was made with, but it reminds me of like that Minute Maid fruit punch.
Nice. There's like an underlying like musty dunnage note that's just kind of like creeping along in there.
Oh man.
Oh man, you can get the barrel char in there.
That's
Great
that's a
grain.
that's a very tasty whiskey. It's hitting all the boxes. Um, I mean, the fruits aren't going into that tropical realm, but there's a lot of them. They're bright, they're rich. Those apples you mentioned before, Evan, but it's also straying into like a bit of melon and citrus.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's this nice kind of fresh, like ricotta cheese with maybe like a little bit of honey or something mixed into it.
It's and this is kind of looking back into time, so I'm probably wrong, but it kind of reminds me of I think it was our second official Bruichladdich single cast that had that. It went more creamy and just slightly smoky as well.
Yeah. Um, Apparently, Will is, or sorry, Vincent is taking issue with the species of fish once again. Um, in proper middle-aged man fashion, Vincent, I think you need to take this up in letter form with the guys at Whiskey Base. Like just write them one hell of a letter, calling them out for the incorrectly drawn fish
Yeah,
from 150
yeah,
years ago.
yeah. I take issue not with your lack of copyright, but
I mean, I guess we never pointed, like, that's why they use those images, is that
Yep.
they look cool, but the copyright's expired, so that's why they can put them on their labels.
Yep. Free art. They didn't like this is if maybe if they were around now, they'd be using AI to do the art. Who knows?
Seems like, and it's probably barrel char, but it seems like there's a faint whiff of smoke, or even like just a faint twinge of peat in there. But to me, it's like whipped ricotta, a little bit of like sprinkling of olive oil, honey, and sea salt on there. And if you could somehow infuse, maybe like you flame broil char the bread that you spread the whipped ricotta onto, to kind of
Yeah.
add the last element in there.
Hmm. That's
Yeah,
a
it
killer dram.
was a killer dram. Um, Not inexpensive, but I'm glad it didn't disappoint because I mean, when those Bruichladdich, like 15 and up Bruichladdich are good, they're just gorgeous. And I think
Yeah.
this is a gorgeous whiskey. It probably would have continued to improve over time up to a point, but great whiskey. Yeah, I'm glad it lived up to my expectations there.
Yeah. It's just too bad that Renier and McEwen don't have more casts to sell.
Ian asking, is the long fermentation time that leads to the cheesy lactic funky notes? So yeah, if the fermentation goes long enough, you can go into lactic fermentation, which does definitely create um, some different flavors. But it's kind of, you go past the point where you max out the fruity tones, and then you're
Mm.
getting into some weirder stuff. And there are some Bruichladdich bottlings that go way too weird, like baby vomit, acidic, like off the deep end. And I think that's the risk when you do these long, really long fermentations, is
Hmm.
it could get infected or just go off in a weird direction. But when it's good, those long ferments, especially in either bourbon or a refill cask at age, is when you start to get these really, really interesting profiles. And I think that's what we're on the cusp of here. Yeah, some other great tasting notes in there. Um, this is the wrong fish, 37, size 12, banana for reference.
Yeah.
Is that a, is that a, is that an over the head, I'm an old guy quote,
I kind of hope it is because otherwise, like,
or did Jeff intend to photo that we have yet to see? And that's
yeah,
why. I don't know. We won't ask too many questions. Um, should we move on to the Tomatin? Evan, this is one you're pretty excited about.
yeah, yeah. I was saying to Andrew earlier before this tasting that we've had some really remarkable Tomatins from the SMWS recently, all in the 8 or 9 year old range. So this is a little bit older at 12. But we've had two peated tomatins from the SMWS, two unpeated tomatins, all since May in the outturns, including one that we just had in the October outturn that was just like full on peach juice on the palate. It was delicious, and I've never gotten that peach juice note on another tomatin I can recall. But yeah, it's reinvigorated my excitement for indie tomatin. And it's cool that we're actually seeing some now where they used to be few and far between.
Mhm. Well, we're on to another distillery with a fairly long fermentation time, at least
Mhm.
in this millennium, 100 up to 170 hours,
That's
if I'm not
impressive.
mistaken, which is, yeah, is that, well, no, 140 plus hours is the fermentation time. So very long time. Tomatin, for those who don't know, used to be for a few short years the largest malt distillery in the world. It was the largest in Scotland. It had 23 stills.
Yeah.
This is going into the early 1980s. Um, it no longer has 23 stills. I think it now has a dozen. They stripped 11 of them out. But even then, they only use really a couple of them. The majority of the production is for single malts now, very little for blends. So they're not overproducing. They don't need all those extra stills. A good example of kind of the boom of the last major, you know, burst of activity in the distilling industry in the late 60s and early 70s that led
Hmm.
to Tomatin being such a big distillery. Um, the other thing that's interesting about it is their cut time. So we talked about Balmenach having that really long 72 to 58% middle cut. Tomatin's is much more precise. It's 71 down to just 65. So they're taking a much smaller cut. So they're looking to have a much cleaner, more polished spirit, but they've got that long fermentation. So you're hoping, and I think we're hoping here that we're going to get some nice fruit tones here. So I don't think I've put this one up on screen yet. So I should. Before Vincent takes issue with the species, this is supposedly another Amphipyron chrysogaster from 150 years ago. This is a 12-year-old Tomatin, ex-bourbon, 58.6%.
Chrysogaster just makes me think it's like the K car of fish somehow.
It's a chrysogaster, yeah.
Um, Also about Tomatin is it's like it's not hidden, but it's quietly, is it maybe the oldest Japanese or the longest Japanese owned distillery? Because Takura Shuzo purchased it, I think it was in 1985.
You might be right about that. It was definitely before 86. They
Hmm.
saved them from going out of business. Apparently,
Yep.
this is a clownfish. So I don't know. Are the whiskey based guys maybe just trolling us with fish? And that
Oh,
this
that's
is just
brilliant.
a long running gag that
Yeah.
Vincent is exposed finally?
Yeah.
Like it's a
Those
Dutch
Dutch.
joke. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Dutch joke that's been like 14 years in the making.
Hmm. Yeah, you go back through the records and there is no book that this was in even. It just never existed.
There's now some controversy because Will is now suggesting that that is a proper amphipyron prion chrysogaster. So, um,
Fish on.
thoughts on the nose?
Does have a bit of peach notes to it. It's got some nice dunnage as well.
Mhm.
It's again going softer than I would expect for a lot of tomatin of this age, which I quite enjoy.
Lots of honey, a little bit of a nutty tone there. Dried white fruits like apple and
Mhm.
pear. I'm getting a Quaker's Harvest Crunch vibe from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that as well. There's savory wise, and it could be all in my head, but there's just a touch of mustard seed in there for me.
What kind of mustard, Evan?
Mustard seed. It'd
A little
be
bit mustard
like,
seed.
yeah. If it was a mustard, it'd be like Grey Poupon. It'd be like super soft.
Mhm. That's, I mean,
Ooh.
maybe I'm just in a very charitable mood tonight, but like that's another lovely palette. It is
Yeah.
coating, creamy. There's some nice flavors there. Again, no rough edges to it. I mean, we have yet to have a whiskey in this range tonight that had any rough edges to it. And most of
Yep.
them are they're 12 and 15 years of age. I mean, this is a little surprising to me.
This is the one that's to me evolves the most in the palate so far too, where the fruit note seems to come out more as on the finish. Uh, and it takes time to kind of settle in.
Both the nose and palate make me think a little bit too of like panettone if it's got like little bits of
Yeah,
dried fruit in it.
yeah, and some almonds, like some shaved almonds.
Yeah. Little bit of caramel, but not too much.
Hmm.
Um, it's almost panettone season, Evan. It's coming up.
Yeah, yeah, this is another good one. There's whereas the laddie goes a little bit lactic, there's just a little bit more like slight acidity to this one, it seems. Keeps my mouth watering, which
It's
is in line with a lot of
toastier.
tomatin. Yeah.
I think it's also a little bit sweeter. It's got a little bit more
Hmm.
honey, a little bit more vanilla. Um, a little bit more of even like just refined sugar. Like the finish on this I find quite sweet. Jeff
Jeff made
saying,
the mistake of mixing
"Oh,
up French and Italian food, it looks like.
Jeff, I'm think your mistake there was you probably didn't use French butter. Had
Yeah.
you put French butter in the pan with the panettone, also because it's already quite soft, you got to lean deeper into the eggs and less into the milk. You got to have a much more egg forward mixture because I have made panettone French toast and it can be incredible. Um, it's going to be messy and probably give you a heart attack, but yeah.
I think you got to spread some burrata on that afterwards too. Like just like keep those border wars going between the France and Italy.
With a olive oil float sprinkled with sea salt.
That's right.
Just dial everything
Yeah.
up to like
No,
100.
fleur de sel, not sea salt. Do you have a favorite between the laddie and the tomatin?
Uh, I'm not sure. Like I think I might need more time there, but
Yeah.
I do love how Ian is dialing up. I'm guessing that's a boutique joke in there. Um, or a typo. Uh, I don't know. I really like something about that Bruichladdich, and going back to it now, I find there's even a little bit more smoke on the nose to it than there was before. Ian, the reason I thought that that was actually a joke was that for a while the boutique whiskey company did a Tomatin independent bottling with tomatoes on the label because of the natural similarity in those two words, and they stopped it because the people at Tomatin didn't really appreciate it. So they changed the label. But I don't know. I think I'm still Team Bruichladdich, but this is a really good Tomatin.
Yeah, those are two stellar drams.
Yeah. Well, first half, we're a little bit over the hump. We're going to move on
Mhm.
now to the Glenburgie, which is another Chivas distillery, predominantly used in blends. The best Glenburgies, I would say, have been bottled by Gordon MacPhail. I think is a safe bet. They've had a history of bottling Glenburgie for quite some time. I believe around 100 years, because I believe Glenburgie is quite an old distillery. Um, I am just pulling that up here because it's not on the top of my head at the moment. So yeah, 1810. It's older than I even thought. But one of the trio of whiskeys that goes into Ballantine's. And for the Glenburgie, until corrected by someone, this is an Amphipyron Marmoratus, published 150 years ago. It's 2011 vintage, 12 years, ex bourbon barrel, 59.8%. We'll get the chat wagging here about whether or not it is what I said it is. We'll let you guys dive in. But Evan, what do we think of this Glenburgie?
The nose is interesting, and maybe I just expect Glenburgie to be really fruity and sherry because that's the way we see it so much. But it's so starchy on the nose. Really nutty, tons of like malt and grain right off the hop. Nope. I think you muted yourself there, Andrew.
There's this kind of sweet savory thing going on there.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of tart. There's almost like an unctuousness to it.
Yeah. Like a bit of a like a chocolate milk or hot chocolate note to it.
Mm. Maybe like a Mexican hot chocolate.
Hmm.
I'm trying to look up the deets here. It's a large distillery, 4.5 million liters. Um, I'm trying to find, I'll have to go looking for it elsewhere to see what the fermentation times are, etc. But I believe from a recent update prior to things maybe going a little sideways or pear-shaped in recent years, there were plans to increase the size of the production at Glenburgie Distillery. I suspect probably those plans have been shelved now. Um, but yeah, Evan, Glenburgie's whiskey that we see predominantly from Gordon MacPhail, occasionally from other
Yeah,
independent ballers. But the Gordon MacPhail stuff is almost to a T ex-bourbon or
sherried.
sherry cask.
Yeah.
Except, I don't know if you remember this, but I believe we have a share or a bourbon cask Glenburgie coming either this
Hmm.
fall or early next year.
Like a KWM cask.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Nice.
sure. I'm just looking to see if I can pull up the label here. We don't have a bottle shot yet, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we have a 2003,
Sweet.
quite tropical,
Yeah, I remember that one
creamy
now.
ex-bourbon cask, and it's one of those ones where again there's like a bizarrely low outturn on it. It's 21 years of age. 54.5%. And there, for some reason, there are just 146 bottles of it. I realize we've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but since I was talking about it, I'll put it on there for you. So they're talking about lemon aromas, orange sherbet, peach, charred oak, nectarine, etc., etc. But yeah,
Nice.
this is coming down the pipeline in the not too distant future from Glenburgie. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure what to be honest, I can't remember what the details are as far as fermentation times, etc. at the distillery. Oh, here we go, 54 to 100 hours. So you got a pretty wide range there.
Mhm.
Most of the production put into a mix of bourbon or refill casks. Um, but
There's a real like leanness to this one where it's like very grain heavy.
mm,
Definitely get the chocolatey notes and it is a bit savory. Like I was trying to, it's almost got a bit of like not a full on, but a touch of tomato paste
mhm,
to it where you're getting like these herbs and basil and a bit of like a concentrated tomato note in there, but it's
yeah.
not super fruity in the way I was expecting at all. But I quite like that lean style that it has.
Mm. So here's an interesting a little nugget. The distillery was dismantled, demolished, and rebuilt in 2004. So the distillate made for our cask is going to be the one, the 2003 that's coming, is probably going to be a little different from this one,
Hmm.
um, because this is done since they've rebuilt the distillery. But
Actually, there's more fruit coming out on the finish now, going into like tin peaches and maybe a touch of like Waldorf salad pear, but it's soft.
I like that.
It's really, really neat.
There's like a feta cheese kind of
Hmm.
um, note on the palate, like that sort of salty, flaky, very clean cheese profile.
Um, so I didn't try any of these before organizing the lineup. I just kind of went on the stats of the whiskey and so on and so forth and where I thought they would go. But I don't think this suffers, but I think it could have gone before the Bruichladdich.
Mm. Yeah, it is quite soft.
Mm,
Je- Jeff appears to have used ChatGPT to create a mock-up Gordon MacPhail Glenburgie label. Um, Ours won't look like that. I think it's fair to say. Oh, Gemini. Sorry, it was a Gemini. Gotcha. It's good. I don't think that this to me holds up to either the Tomatin or the Bruichladdich, but it's again another lovely bottling, another very good cask selection. Jeff, ask Gemini if it can create a range of Gordon MacPhail Archives bottlings with a fish on them. I
that's
wonder
right.
what that's going to look like. Um, Yeah, very drinkable, very pleasant. Glenburgie, we don't see a lot of. We've seen a bit more of it at a younger age in recent years from other independent ballers, whether it's Carn Moore, Cadenhead. Have you seen a few of these through Scotch Malt Whisky Society, Evan?
We do get Glenburgie here and there. It's so few and far between though that I can't name any of them off the top of my head.
Mm, yeah. I like it in a bourbon cask. I mean,
Ooh,
it's not something we see very often. I know the one we've got coming is gorgeous,
yeah,
but this works. It's very drinkable, very approachable.
yeah.
And interestingly, it's also the only one that's sold out.
Mhm.
It's the only one that we cannot acquire for you or that you can't purchase tonight, because it is already gone. But you'll be able to you'll be able to try our Gordon MacPhail cask sometime either late this year or early next, depending on when it arrives. So
Yeah,
Jeff's archives bottling of Gordon MacPhail, amazing. Gemini really came through. I have to say, I think they even got the kinds of fish right. Like they're more conservative, less flamboyant than the archives bottlings because Gordon MacPhail's got that slightly aristocratic, you know, um, proper way about itself. And I don't think they would want any of their fish to be just too over the top. They'd have to be,
yeah.
proper.
This is something that you might find in the River Spey and you could mount it on your wall, kind of thing.
And it doesn't look like one of those ones that will talk or sing to you while
Yeah.
flapping on the wall. So, okay, very well done. Very well done. All right.
Mhm. On to
Uh
Pete.
Stoisha or Stisha.
Mhm.
Do we know the proper pronunciation of that, Evan?
No, like I swear, like I have a half memory of asking that to when we were going through signatory and tried one, and
Hmm.
we got a kind of a shrug of the shoulders on the pronunciation.
I think that checks. That sounds about right. Um,
I like
before
Stoisha.
before I share the name of the fish, just ignore that. Um, I mean, come on, Vincent, what is this? What kind of fish is this? Don't look at the description. Um, 10 years old, ex-bourbon barrel. So peated Bunnahabhain, 57.9%. I don't know if the chat has already figured out the type of fish. Oh, he's saying this fish is correct, black tang. But they're calling this an Acanthrus rostratus. Is that the
The Latin.
Latin name for a black tang? Guess we'll find out. We'll see what the chat
Vincent
says.
says yes.
Yes. All right. And Vincent, I suspect you know the answer to this question. What is the term for somebody who knows a lot about fish? We know it's not an ornithologist, a fish person.
I
I
think
don't.
it's yeah. I think it's fish person because we can't
Oh,
say fisherman anymore.
ichthyologist. I think somewhere back in my brain I knew that. I just could not get through all the cobwebs to pull that out. But there we go. I like that. Ichthyologist. There we go. All right, Evan. Stoisha, Peter Bunnahabhain.
Yeah.
Or is Stoisha any peated Bunnahabhain or a
It's
Bunnahabhain
weird
peated
because
certain one?
they're kind of they don't give a whole lot of definition. I have a feeling that their code name has changed with time because it used to be Moynia.
Mhm.
Before that, I think it was Margadale, but I could be wrong. But I think Stoisha is. I have a feeling Stoisha as a term is their term for what they've used to supplement when Diageo and Kalila isn't in operation, and they've
Mhm.
just continued with that style when they're keeping it for themselves too. But I that's just pure conjecture. I could be wrong.
Well, Evan, our tastings, our
Hmm.
our YouTube videos are largely built on conjecture. I think it's
Yeah.
fair to say. So who am I to chastise you for adding that? So Stoisha is a name of a loch near the
Hmm.
distillery. That's where they take the name from. Yeah, and we did used to see Moynia. I mean, bizarrely, we have Sturadar as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is that a lightly peated Bunnahabhain?
I feel like it's more earthy, the Strudar that I've had. And Stoisha does remind me more stylistically with Kalila, where it tends to be a little bit
Okay,
oilier and brinier
okay.
than other stuff I've had. And I think Stoisha just means peated, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong.
Well, it is the name of a lock. So
Or maybe it was Moine that means Moinia that means peated. I could be, yeah.
Moine might mean peated.
Yeah.
Here's just a random question, but it's kind of brought about this. Are they using too many weird Scottish names other than just telling you what it is?
Will they run out is like of Scottish names? That's also a concern.
Okay. The
Then
Peat
they'll
Mountain
have to just
noses.
name them after like the Latin term for a fish.
Mm-hmm. Or, if you will, how about the Scots Gaelic name for these Latin fish? So
Yeah.
just imagine what an chrysogaster would work out to in Scots Gaelic. I mean, that's
Yeah.
exciting. The possibilities.
Yeah. I'm sure Burns did reference a chrysogaster at some point in one of his
Many
poems.
times, many times. Yeah. The nose is surprisingly unpeated, but again, true to the whole range we've had so far tonight, quite soft.
Yeah. Yeah, a little, it's going in that sort of minty menthol direction.
Mhm.
They're just a touch of like not full on Fisherman's Friends, but a waft of it.
Quite malty, like
Yeah,
really, really grassy as well, too.
that's excellent Latin, Will.
I mean, it's quite peated, but it's not insanely
Hmm.
smoky. It's just really, really earthy.
And spicy, like mustard greens.
Yeah.
I think I said mustard seed before, but even almost going into like a chipotle note.
Yeah. No, Chipotle is a good note. There's even something reminds me a little bit of mole sauce since we're gonna
Yep.
talk south of the border here.
Yeah.
Or a peanut salsa if you've ever had one of those spicy
Mhm.
peanut salsas.
Yeah, I feel like I could dip some nachos in this.
It's quite naked. I mean, this is really distillate driven. I don't think it says on there, but this has got to be a refill bourbon barrel because either that or it's one of those rinsed Jim Beam barrels. You know, the ones
Hmm.
that
Yep.
John Glazer was worried about until he wasn't worried about them because he realized they were actually pretty good.
Hmm.
Because it turns out Jim Beam did them a favor by taking out some of the flavor.
You know, what does it say here? Yeah, it just says ex-bourbon barrel. Um, yeah, I like the style. It's got that sort of chalky minerality. It's got that
Mhm.
that ashy creaminess in there. Um, I'm super curious to put it up against the Williamson because I wonder what the differences are going to be.
Well, and at 57.9, I mean, again, it's a little warm, but it's not sharp. It's interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. Loads of mushroom, kind of mushroomy, earthy notes in there. Okay. Like what is it?
So,
Well, no, I was gonna say you can occasionally get like vegetarian versions of Mexican dishes. So
hmm.
I was thinking like you get a queso, like a proper, not the Tostitos version of queso, but like proper Mexican queso with chorizo, or you can
Yeah.
sometimes do it with mushroom. And it kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of like a mushroom chorizo or a mushroom queso rather.
That actually the Native Tongues does a pretty good mushroom taco if you get
Oh,
their little ones there, but it does have a little bit of that savory note to it too.
all right. Williamson.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is a label that ichthyologists won't be able to take issue with, mainly because there's a dragonfly on it and not a fish. This is the Heads and Tails Williamson. Now, it could be that, well, what's a bug expert? I mean, we know there's bug men, but I don't think that's what we're looking for here. Um, Someone's going to chat GPT this thing. Regardless, it has got a dragonfly on it. The reason there's a dragonfly on it is that it was bottled for Heads and Tails. The importer for Igor Kosov, who is currently in Paris and was struggling with jet lag, so unable to join us tonight. 2010 vintage Williamson, which we know is effectively Laphroaig. Blended malt Scotch whiskey. I do love how they still have Laphroaig on the label there. I wonder
Yeah.
if the Scotch Malt Whiskey or the Scotch Whiskey Association might take issue with that. Bottled at 51.3% for Canada, and it is a British Dragonflies label featuring a Calopteryx Harmore Hoidalis. Like, who the hell comes up with this shit? Honestly, I mean, that's too much. That word is too much.
This nose is awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's got like my kids are somewhat addicted to yogurt drinks,
Mm.
and it has the raspberry or strawberry yogurt drink note to it on the nose.
This is what I imagine peasant cheese's mop bucket smells like.
Yeah.
Like you've got cheese in there, bits of dried fruit,
Yep.
um, a little bit of cleaning agent, but not too much because you don't
Yeah.
want it to overpower the cheese in the shop.
Yeah. Just a dash of diddle.
Yeah. A little bit of like maybe road salt because it's maybe a winter day and some dust.
Mhm.
Entomologists. We're learning about all the ologists tonight, Evan. All
Yeah.
the many ologists.
That's a I love this nose. It's that weird combination of fruity and floral.
Mm, man. And the palate's great too.
It has that yogurt note again.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff.
So, I mean, I think we're seeing a bit of a theme here. I think all of these whiskeys, if you look at them tonight, all of them have got like a subtle elegance to them,
Mhm.
regardless of their profile, regardless of their distillate style, regardless of their age or their strength. They're all elegant. I mean,
Absolutely.
I was expecting, given the age, a bit more of a roller coaster ride here in terms of the profiles.
No, it's kind of refreshing. And it again, I think it speaks to probably what Archives MO is, where they're not trying to like rock the boat with these crazy flavor profiles or wild cask finishes or anything like that. They're just trying to show what whiskey can be at its rawest form when done well.
With potentially controversially identified fish species on the
Yeah,
labels.
yeah. They're just overtly saying the controversy doesn't have to be the whiskey. It can be
Yeah.
the label.
Well, I mean, we're not all ichthyologists, so I think we can let that slide a little bit.
Mhm.
The prices on all of them are a little higher than maybe most of us would want for whiskeys of a comparable age, but I don't think there's anything in this lineup tonight that disappointed. I mean, the Strathclyde, frankly, is shockingly inexpensive, like really good value. The Bruichladdich is punchy, but I mean, who has 15-year-old Bruichladdich casts that they're bottling at a reasonable or at an inexpensive price these days? And the answer is nobody. But the whole rest of the range, I mean, I guess I wasn't sure what to expect from that Williamson. And spoiler, we have a Williamson coming just before Christmas, Evan, if you'll recall, from Single
Yes.
Cask Nation. So that's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I mean, I we need to get to the speed round, but I'm struck by how elegant everything in this lineup is tonight. And
Yeah.
I remember the good old days, like 5 years ago or more, when we got a lot of like 15 to 30-year-old single malt archives bottlings. Like that's what came in. Like I don't know if you remember, but we used to get Springbanks um,
Yep.
that had, I think a lot of those had shells on the label. There might have even been one with a crab. Um, but I was a little nervous about this range, but kind of curious to try them. And I'm glad we put this into a range because
Yeah.
nothing is disappointed in this lineup so far tonight.
Well, it's kind of funny because I've had lineups like this from other independent ballers even, not to name names, but where you put a lineup together like this and it just seems bland,
Mm,
where they just kind of run together because there's not enough differentiation. But there's enough differentiation here in the spirit that they still show very individual, which is really neat.
mm. Um, all right. Well, let's go through and do the speed round.
Yeah. Should I trigger
Probably.
the vote while we're doing the speed round?
No, I think we got a little time. Evan, we'll make this a proper
Yeah,
speed round. So button up your jacket. Let's
sounds good.
get ready here. We'll dig in. So back to that Strathclyde. Oh man, that is just it's like some kind of
Yeah.
nectar. Like it is leaning in that corn syrup direction, but it's really, really enticing.
Well, and apparently, although I don't know if this is actually the case, but everything I could find online says Strathclyde predominantly does wheat.
Yeah. That's the same thing I saw was that it was also wheat.
Yeah.
Palate, sweet, light. Um, Reminds me of like, I don't know, like a one of those Belgian waffle stands in Europe where go to get a warm
Hmm.
waffle with toppings on it
And then you squeezed a lime on top for some reason.
for some reason. All right. Balmenach. The nose on this is quite interesting.
Play-Doh?
I don't know, it's meaty, but in a like a sweet meats or like a kind of way, like in kind of a balance between savory and sweet.
Even a touch of like Alfredo sauce somehow for me.
It's very drinkable. Very, very tasty.
Yeah,
Okay.
that floral note's great.
Worm tubs for the win is what Chris and Sarah are saying. Um, Bruichladdich 2008. Wow, this
The
still
the
might,
cheese has aged a little bit, and gotten a little bit harder.
yeah, you're talking like aged Dutch Goudas now.
Yeah. Still get that smokiness and that big time lackiness. I'm guessing smokiness is cast, not peat though.
And very naked once again. Like the oak influence on this seems
Mhm.
more refill ex bourbon than it does first fill.
Yeah. Sunflower seeds and sunflower oil on the palate.
Okay. Like that one too. All right. Tomatin, or just tomatin.
It's a little bit more subtle this time around on the nose, but the palate is juicy and fruity and like very grain driven still.
Yeah.
Toasty.
Thick, rich, loads of honey, quite
Hmm.
toasty, some nice tangy fruit tones. Um, yeah, again, great whiskey. I think for me it's like almost too neat. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it. It's just almost there's
It's
almost
coloring within the lines.
yeah, there's it's too polished. I mean, I think
Yeah.
for the age, I want a little bit more excitement, but everything that's there is very good. All right,
Mhm.
Glenburgie, very floral now.
Yeah. A little bit of the oh, what's that cereal with the super large biscuits? Is it cream of wheat?
Weetabix.
No. Weetabix. Yeah, like Weetabix, just pulling it right out of the box.
The palate is very fruity though. It's got this really nice citrus melon combo.
Yeah.
Jeff likes big biscuits.
Um, Still maybe the most subtle but complex in the bunch for me.
Yeah. All right. Staoisha, or something in.
Gotcha. It sounds Russian somehow for me, like that term.
Stoisha definitely does. It sounds like a
Yeah.
place you send people, like politicians you don't want to hear from again.
Yeah, it's like halfway to the gulag. More of a like a chimney smoke, or even a campfire smoke coming on now on the nose.
Well, it's quite medicinal, tarry on the palate, but
Mm.
again, not rough, not sharp. Oh
Yeah, a
man,
little bit more of a sweet shellfish note coming through.
yeah, I think
Scallops.
I'm gonna have a hard time picking a couple of favorites here. All right, last one,
Mhm.
the Williamson. Oh man, it is over the top, kind of fruity and funky.
Yeah, it's it's like a shish kebab that you're dipping into tzatziki sauce.
Mm, mm. That tzatziki sauce one is a great note. Um, because it is very yogurty again.
Yeah,
Oh man.
that's killer.
All right. Uh, let's not drag this out. I think we're gonna fire up the poll here. Favorite
I got it.
whiskeys and a cheeky third question somewhere in there. So Evan, how close are you to being able to say these are my three favorite whiskeys tonight?
Yeah, this is a really tough lineup. I'll wing it. Uh, I think I gotta put the Williamson on top. It's kind of cheating with the peat there, but there's so much going on there, and it goes into like I would expect the floral notes and a bit of Parma Violet, but it still goes into something I wasn't expecting from Laphroaig, which is really neat. Uh, Second favorite, I got to take the Glenburgie. The subtlety of that one and that subtle complexity is just fantastic, fantastic, super enticing as well. And then I'll take the Strathclyde. It's maybe the most straightforward,
Yeah,
but it's straightforward grain done really well.
yeah.
What do
Well,
you think, man?
uh, I've got some similarities here with you. Slight difference. I'm going Strathclyde number one.
Nice.
And I'm doing that partly because I think I can't believe the price on it. Like I remember even asking Igor when he registered this, I was like, is the price on this right? And he said, yes. I said, can we have two cases? He's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm only getting a couple. So
Mhm.
I really like that. I mean, it is, I mean, I can't think of another tasting where the grain is my favorite whiskey in the lineup.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
um, and it definitely got knocked up a little bit because of the price. But yeah,
Mm.
that's great. Bruichladdich is my number two. I really love
Yeah.
that cheesy style. I really like that lactic, fruity, slightly salty, slightly smoky profile that it's got. And
It's kind of going into like a mango lassi territory, like creamy and fruity at the same time.
or like one of those there's a Tibetan restaurant that we really like that makes like a mango ice cream.
Nice.
It's not really an ice cream, but it's like a Tibetan sort of ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm probably explaining and selling that completely wrong, but it's been a long day. Um, the last one there, I think the last one is the Williamson.
Mhm.
So like you, my
Yeah.
first and third whiskeys are the same. They're just reversed. Uh, I'll be honest, I did not think the Williamson would be in my top three going into this tasting blind, just because I don't know. We've had a lot of Williamson. Some of it's good, most of it's average.
Mhm.
I don't think we've really seen anything really exciting on that front for a while,
Mhm.
but this is really good.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cask. I can see why Igor and Co. Selected this one for to be a heads and tails cask. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes me happy that there's going to be a little bit more of it in the market because of that as well.
Um, I just had a quick look. Vincent's published or Vincent's suggesting a different third question, which is going into some strange territories. I think about small animals of some kind.
Mhm.
If I'm catching it correctly. Um, but let's see. I mean, we'll give the poll another minute. It looks
Yeah,
like all but two of you have voted. Uh, yeah. Evan, I think the reality is you and I might not be the most intelligent people taking part in our tastings, is what I'm
no, well,
starting to pick up on
we
here.
we
So,
we definitely know a lot less about fish than some people.
and bugs and
Yep,
small animals.
yeah, that's okay. I barely get by on my whiskey knowledge. So,
That's right. All right. One of you has not voted. You got 10 seconds. I'm going to kill it and we're going to go to the vote. Although I got to tell you, it is not even close for first favorite whiskey tonight. And I think
yeah.
you're going to be in some fine company here, Evan. Um,
Mhm.
so here we go. I've ended the poll. So favorite whiskey tonight is by a landslide, the Heads and Tails Williamson has stormed in there. So that's good to see. Finishing second, the Bruichladdich, and then a tie for third between the Tomatin and the Strathclyde. Hard to disagree with any of those votes. And then
Yeah,
second favorite, um, much more
great
balanced,
spread.
but yeah, leaning Balmenach and Tomatin, which is
Very
really
cool.
interesting. So everything got a vote tonight, which again, not something we see all the time. And I'm going to agree with Kevin on this. I was like, I think the Strathclyde got a bit of a raw deal tonight, but you know what? It was, to be fair, a tough range.
Yeah.
Um, no disappointments. So Evan's question here, maybe this is what Vincent was leading into. Which public domain material should archives gleefully exploit for their next labels? We've got still frames from Evan. You know what? I'm going to let you read these because you wrote them. So
Yeah.
you're less likely to butcher them. And as we know, we've already crossed that X on the
Yeah.
bingo card about me squinting at a computer screen. So we'll just let that
Absolutely.
one slide.
So with 0 votes, sadly, still frames from the Coconuts. The cinematic debut of the Marx Brothers, originally published in 1929 and public domain as of 2025. Two
E- e-
votes for, yes,
Evan, let's not move on from that one too quickly. What the hell are the coconut? Is this like some Marxist
this is
concept?
the Marx Brothers' first movie.
Oh.
And it is officially public domain in the US, which typically means Canada and the rest of the world as well, because they have the more stringent copyright stuff, if I remember correctly.
So is this like
So I
some
went based on
Steamboat
that.
Willie Mickey Mouse stuff?
Yeah, and I think do I have that in here? Yes, I do. We'll get to
Mm.
that. Next up, with 15% of the votes, is paintings and work of Frida Kahlo, claimant to the most famous eyebrows in history, who passed away in 1954 and had, that should be her work, not his work, sorry, become public domain in 2025.
Evan, clarification there, famous eyebrow.
I know
I think
that's
that's the
two
whole,
mistakes in that.
it's one eyebrow. It's not
Yep.
two eyebrows. It's just one.
Yeah, I should have not pluralized that, and I shouldn't have called her a he. So two mistakes in that one. Next up is
Is that a micro or a macro aggression, Evan?
ooh, I think today would be macro, and then in her time, it wouldn't have even been a blip, sadly.
Okay. Okay.
Next up is stills and images from Walt Disney's Steamboat Willie, which entered public domain in 2024. And that got 23% of the votes, tied for the winner of the last two. The Etienne Leopold Trouvelot astronomical drawings from 1882, which are actually pretty fantastic if you take a
Oh,
look at those. And lastly, tied is stills and frames from the Betty Boop cartoons released in 1930. which will hit public domain on January 1st, 2026. I think we need some bottles with Betty Boop on there, personally.
Um, I mean, as excited as I am about Betty Boop, Evan, I'm a little frustrated that I can't scrape the text
I know.
from the Truvelo astronomical drawings because
Jeff, can you quickly do something about that for us?
somehow I want to see those because I do quite enjoy space, and I'm guessing that
Yeah,
is a
from what I recall, because I just did a search for what's entered copyright or public domain recently, and they are a combination of fantastical but also like very scientific in nature. So
okay. Well, that seems to tick a couple of boxes that, especially after a couple of drams, I might be interested in.
yeah,
So, um,
yeah, it might be better than doom scrolling Reddit or something like that, as I do. So
you know, I I've I I've not I've not invested anywhere near enough energy to figure out how Reddit works. And I'm kind of glad that I haven't
yeah,
because I think there's already too many rabbit holes to fall down in this world. And
yeah.
if anything, I think I need to fall down less rabbit holes than I am already. So, I don't know if I shared those. Apologies. But they're up there.
Yeah, they were shared, but I
They
think,
were
but just in
okay.
case, yeah,
Um,
there we go. Will for the win.
Public domain. Oh yeah, look at that. That's somehow I don't know how it's somehow those are somehow incredible, but also dystopian, um, in a way. I don't know. Anyway, interesting. Well, listen, Evan, this was a fun range of whiskeys tonight.
Yeah,
I don't want to say that this was like a canned tasting range. In a way, it kind of was. It was seven whiskeys, easy to put into a lineup. But everything we've had from Whiskey Base over the years has been good. The whiskeys we had tonight, I think, exceeded my expectations. I think kind of feeling like we're at a weird spot in whiskey right now where there's a lot of independent bottlers that have, you know, low 10 digit or low 2 digit age statement whiskeys, most of which are good, but they're not great. And truly, I don't think there was anything in this lineup tonight that I thought was not good or not
yeah.
interesting. I think the whole range punched above what I was expecting it to be. So great.
Along those lines, before we wrap it up, I gotta say, and maybe other people will disagree, but I think you almost have to do this style of whiskey and a range of this style of whiskey because it would suffer if you just had one of these bottlings in almost any other tasting with
Yeah.
where it'd just get overblown with other flavors.
It would not be fully appreciated, I think is,
Hmm.
or it could get lost very easily.
Yeah,
I 100% agree, but I guess I got one other final thought here is we've done a couple of tastings recently where there was a very big full range of heavily sherried whiskeys and they were hard to get through. I mean,
yeah,
and I remember the last time we did an Octomore tasting, it was a hard tasting to get through. This was not a hard lineup to get through. It was
yeah.
easy on the palate. It was interesting. It was subtle. Um,
It's a
and
palate cleanser.
it is a palate cleanser. I don't think I could have put it better. I think that's a note to end on. So,
Hmm.
um, everyone, thank you for joining us for this palate cleanser tasting tonight. Kelvin, once again, thank you
Yes.
for the smoking jackets. We'll make sure they get put to good use. But everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the range. Look forward to chatting with you again soon. We'll see some of you next week for Springbank. If you didn't get a kit for that, apologies. It was literally the hottest ticket on Zoom. There'll be others though, so we'll do it again. But until next time, everyone, have a good night.